The brakes screeched outside the Grand Hotel lobby. Lights glimmered across an old SUV, out of place among cars worth millions. The door opened. A man stepped out, wearing a wrinkled gray coat, holding a black card. The front desk clerk glanced, chuckled softly. "Fake card, huh?" A few guests snickered. "He doesn't look like someone with money." No one knew, in just a few minutes, this entire room would fall silent. Because the man they mocked hadn't come here to be served, but to see how many people in this luxury place still knew respect, when they believed no one was watching. An old SUV rolled to a stop before the Grand Hotel lobby. Light spilled across its scratched paint. And from inside, a man stepped out, wrinkled gray coat, worn shoes, a black card in hand. No one knew who he was. They only saw a guest with no luggage, no entourage, an ordinary man among glittering wealth. But in just a few minutes, this entire room would fall into stunned silence. His name was Cole Carter, founder of Carter Tech Global, a multi-billion-dollar company creating life-saving tools for hospitals, schools, and emergency centers. Today, he had chosen to arrive as a nobody, to see how the world treats a human being when the business card is gone. No team, no bodyguards, no flashing cameras, just a quiet experiment in respect. Because sometimes, the way people greet you tells you everything about who they are. And today, Cole would learn the true worth of two simple words: human kindness. The hotel lobby gleamed like crystal. The scent of expensive perfume blended with the rhythm of heels on marble. Cole walked slowly. Light reflected off his worn gray coat like dust caught in time. He approached the front desk, gently placed the black card on the polished counter. The receptionist looked up, dark red lips, eyes sharp as a blade. "Good evening, sir. How may I help you?" Her tone was sweet, but cold. Cole smiled lightly. "I have a reservation. The name is Cole Carter." She glanced at the card, tilted her head. A faint smirk touched her lips. "This card, it's really yours, sir?" A quiet chuckle came from the waiting seats nearby. A middle-aged man leaned toward his wife. "Borrowed someone's card again. Look at those shoes." Cole heard every word, but only exhaled softly. The air in the lobby felt thin. The keyboard clicks sounded lazy, indifferent. She never met his eyes, just moved the mouse, typed a few letters, then stopped, her nails tapping to some invisible tune. "I don't see your name in the system. Perhaps the wrong hotel?" Cole glanced at the glowing screen before her. His name sat clearly at the top. "Presidential Suite," confirmed. But she didn't care. Her lips curved again. "These systems glitch sometimes. You understand." Behind her, two bellmen leaned against the wall, whispering, "Who does he think he is?" Probably hitched a ride in someone's car. Laughter rippled softly, spreading like small waves. Cole stood still, silent. His fingers brushed the counter's edge. The surface was cold, smooth as ice. 1 minute passed, then 2. The receptionist kept typing, pretending to search. Cole didn't look away. His gaze was calm, still, but deep as a well. It could stop a person, if they were sensitive enough to feel it. She wasn't. Across the room, a little girl, maybe 8, was helping her grandmother drag a heavy suitcase. Tiny hands trembling, she pushed it onto the carpet. Cole noticed. His eyes softened. The old woman smiled. The girl's bright smile answered back. A small moment, more real than any of the painted smiles behind the counter. Then the child disappeared into the crowd, and the silence at the front desk thickened. Cole spoke slowly. "Could you check again?" "No need, sir. I've checked carefully." "Then why is my name still right there on your screen?" She flinched slightly, then recovered her confidence. "Oh, maybe just someone with the same name." A young man nearby laughed. "Same name? Cole Carter? That's a rare coincidence." More laughter followed, a chorus of smug amusement. Cole said nothing. He looked around, chandeliers sparkling, marble floors shining like mirrors, but not a trace of warmth. Everything was beautiful, except how people treated each other. He remembered his father's words. True luxury isn't in marble or glass, it's in how people look at one another. A security guard passed by, eyeing him from head to toe. Any problem here, Samantha? No, sir, just a confused guest with the wrong room. Cole smiled softly. That's all right, I'll wait. He stepped back beside a marble pillar, light brushed half his face. Guests kept chatting, laughing, raising glasses. No one knew. In just a few minutes, every laugh would fade into silence. Cole took a deep breath. His fingers traced the edge of his coat, where a loose thread hung. Every wrinkle, every mark was proof of a life lived fully. He'd fallen to the bottom once, rebuilt an empire with these calloused hands. And now, in this hall of luxury, they were teaching him a lesson about how people judge. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them, calm and certain. Thank you, he said softly, just loud enough for her to hear. For reminding me, respect is a choice, not a reflex. She didn't understand, only pressed her lips and turned away. Cole looked at the black card still lying on the counter, silent, then nodded. Under the soft golden light, his eyes were deep and still, like a lake before the storm. The laughter in the lobby faded, pulling Cole back to another place, where the light was not gold but pale gray, like morning mist. He was 17, wearing a borrowed shirt from a thrift store, too big, sleeves past his wrists. The stiff leather shoes cut into his heels until they bled, yet he stood straight. In his hands, a tray of glasses trembled with each heartbeat. The hotel kitchen was small, hot, and loud. The smell of frying oil, the clatter of knives, voices calling out orders blended into one storm of noise. Young Cole took a deep breath, looking toward the door that led to the banquet hall. That night, there was a grand party, filled with people he had never dared to look at directly. He only wanted to step out, place the tray on the table, and slip back quietly. But as he moved forward, a hand stopped him. The manager, black suit, voice cold as a wall. He looked Cole up and down, then nodded to another waiter. Not him. Send someone else. This one doesn't have a face for the VIP table. Cole froze. He didn't understand, didn't dare to ask. He simply turned back, carrying the tray into the corner of the kitchen. The door swung shut behind him, cutting off the noise outside, as if sealing another world away. In the heat of the kitchen, he stared at the reflection on the silver tray. A face, not ugly, not handsome, just one deemed unworthy to be seen. The old chef placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, Don't let their words stay in your heart, son. Remember this. One day, you'll build your own VIP table. Cole nodded, but the manager's words cut deeper than any scar. They became a part of him, a silence that never faded. Years later, when he led thousands of employees, every time he hired someone new, he looked into their eyes first. He never asked about degrees, never judged appearances. He only wanted to know, could they respect someone before knowing who that person was? Now, standing in this gleaming hotel lobby, he could still hear that voice from long ago. No face for the VIP table. The words echoed through the marble walls, blending with the quiet laughter around him. Cole exhaled softly, not from anger, but from sorrow. Sorrow for those who never learned that kindness is the only shared language of this world. He looked at his own hands, veins visible, hands that once cleaned machines, lifted boxes, emptied trash bins in his own company, so he could understand how every small job mattered. He had once vowed that in Carter Tech, no one would ever be judged by the clothes they wear. He hung that vow in the headquarters lobby. Respect isn't earned, it's owed by default. And today, in this hall of luxury, the world reminded him that the vow still wasn't enough. The tapping of the receptionist's keyboard returned, slow, careless. Cole came back to the present. He looked up, a faint, steady smile. Maybe prejudice never dies, he thought. It just changes its uniform. A soft breeze drifted in from the doors, carrying perfume and distant laughter. Cole tightened his hand slightly, but his eyes shone brighter, deeper. The old scar no longer hurt. It simply reminded him that some lessons, if forgotten, the world will repeat again. Cole unlocked his phone. The cracked screen caught the lobby lights. He pressed call. Victor's voice came right after the first ring. "You've arrived already." Cole spoke slowly. "Yes, a bit earlier than planned." "No team with you this time?" "No. I want to see how they treat someone without a business card." Silence lingered on the line. Then Victor said softly, "I understand, like last time." Cole smiled. "Yes, like last time." He ended the call, slipped the phone into his coat pocket. The black card still lay on the counter. The receptionist kept typing as if busy, but Cole knew the screen before her was still a blank login page. He said nothing, just looked around. To his left, a middle-aged guest entered with his young son. The boy ran ahead and bumped lightly into Cole. "Sorry, sir," the boy said, voice honest and small. Cole bent down, touched his shoulder gently. "It's all right, son." He looked after them. The father nodded in quiet thanks. That small moment made the wide lobby feel a little warmer. He turned back to the desk. Samantha still didn't look up. "Still no room under your name," she said flatly. Cole's tone stayed calm. "Please check once more. The name is Cole Carter. I'm sure you'll find it." She raised an eyebrow. "I already told you there's nothing. Maybe you're mistaken." Cole smiled lightly. "Then I'll wait. Perhaps the system will change its mind." The answer irritated her. Her lips curved faintly. "Suit yourself." Cole glanced at his watch. Time moved slowly. He had once stood in long lines waiting for a chance, once been dismissed for wearing a shirt stained with machine oil. He knew patience had its own quiet power. He stepped back, observing. A young waiter was wiping tables, hands trembling but careful. He bowed to a loud, complaining group and still managed to smile. Cole nodded slightly. That's real service, he thought. Across the hall, the same little girl was helping her grandmother toward the door. The old woman smiled, holding her hand tight. Cole watched them, his gaze softened. "That's true respect," he murmured, "when no one tells you to do it." His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from Victor. "Should I come in?" Cole typed back quickly. "Not yet. 5 more minutes." He drew a breath and turned back to the counter. "Miss Samantha," he said gently, voice steady. "On your screen. I can see my name from here. It's right on top." She froze for half a second, then pretended not to hear. "I've checked everything. It's not there." "Really?" "Really. You might try another hotel. We only serve confirmed guests here." A couple nearby snickered. Another one pretending to be rich. Cole heard every word, every breath. He looked around, not to find allies, but to remember each face that witnessed this. Outside, the late sunlight slanted through the glass, painting a pale gold stripe across the marble floor. Dust sparkled in the air. Cole watched it, remembering old afternoons in his small workshop, writing code on a laptop with a broken hinge. He used to dream of a world where people were treated fairly. No introductions needed, no image required. Now he stood inside that world and saw how far the dream still was. The receptionist flipped her hair, voice steady. "We're quite busy, sir. If you don't have a booking, please step aside." Cole nodded softly. "All right, I just wanted to confirm one last time." "No need. I've made it clear." "Thank you." He stepped back again, standing beside the marble column. His hands were resting in his pockets. The crowd around him carried on, unaware. No one knew, inside that man's coat pocket, a decision had just formed. A short message that would soon dissolve a $2.8 billion contract. Cole exhaled gently, like wind through glass, then smiled to himself. "Well done," he whispered. "The test still works." A soft laugh came from behind the counter, quiet, but sharp enough to turn heads nearby. The receptionist leaned toward her coworker and whispered, "He's probably using a fake card. You can tell by how he's dressed." Her voice wasn't loud, just precise enough for him to hear. Valet Tyler walked in from outside, holding the guest list. He glanced at Cole, raised a brow, then smiled at Samantha. Another self-proclaimed VIP? Samantha nodded slightly, avoiding Cole's gaze. Yeah, let him stand there a while. Maybe he'll leave on his own. Tyler shrugged. Told you, real money doesn't drive an old SUV. They both chuckled, laughter small but colder than the air conditioning. Cole heard every word, yet stayed calm. He looked around and saw two bellmen pause mid-task, watching him with a mix of curiosity and quiet pity. One whispered to the other, "Looks like a difficult guest." The other shook his head softly. "No, he seems kind, just out of place." A middle-aged couple passed by. The husband muttered, "Anyone can buy a black card online these days." The wife replied with a smile, "Yes, but not the posture to match it." They walked away, leaving behind a trail of amused glances and silent judgment. Cole remained still. His eyes moved slowly, recording every gesture, every expression. It was a simple test, and the results were clearer than any corporate survey. Outside, the wind brushed against the glass. The curtain swayed gently. Cole looked toward the street, people hurrying by. None of them was aware of what was unfolding inside. He wondered, how many times in life do people stay silent before injustice? Simply because it doesn't touch them. The receptionist laughed again, louder this time. "He says he's a partner of Carter Tech." Tyler replied, "Ha, then I must be the chairman." Their laughter echoed through the hall. Some guests turned, a few joined in, not even knowing why. Cole lowered his head slightly, smoothing his sleeve. No anger in his eyes, only a quiet sorrow. Like watching a sickness that had spread too long, and no one wanted to heal it. A young waiter passed by and whispered, "Excuse me, sir, would you like some water?" Cole smiled softly. "Thank you, but no. I'm just observing." The boy nodded, nervous, and stepped away. That small act was the only light in the lobby at that moment. Samantha glanced at her watch, turning back with irritation. "You're still here? I told you clearly. Your name isn't on the list." Cole tilted his head slightly, voice low and calm. "I know. I'm just waiting to see if anyone will check the truth, instead of repeating what they've been told." She frowned, confused. "What do you mean by that?" "Nothing," he smiled gently. "Please, carry on with your work." She turned away, unsettled. Tyler shook his head beside her. What a waste of time. Cole watched them quietly, committing every word, every expression to memory. He knew no camera was needed here. People were recording themselves through their own behavior. The atmosphere began to shift. Whispers spread, fingers pointed subtly. Some guests lifted their phones, trying to take pictures. The room filled with curiosity, tangled with judgment. Cole stood still, unmoving, like a mirror reflecting what people didn't want to see in themselves. A drop of water fell from a glass onto the marble, spreading slowly across the surface. He watched the light bend through it, stretch into a faint line, then fade. He exhaled softly, voice barely above a whisper. Respect, once lost, is like a shadow. Everyone believes they still have it, until the light shifts. No one heard him, but in a few minutes, the whole world would. The revolving door turned, a gust of cold air swept in. A foreign man stepped into the lobby, suit immaculate, the scent of expensive cologne spreading fast. Samantha's voice changed instantly. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome back." Her smile was perfect, her head bowed slightly, her eyes sparkling with warmth that hadn't existed a moment ago. Tyler rushed forward, holding the door open, bowing with practiced charm. Cole stood a few steps away, watching it all unfold like a scene played in slow motion. Same counter, same carpet, yet two entirely different worlds of treatment. The foreign guest smiled, handing over his passport in that smooth British tone. "I believe I have a reservation." "Of course, sir," Samantha replied, her fingers flying across the keyboard faster than ever. "Your suite is ready. We've prepared everything for you." She leaned forward, placing a glass of lemon water beside him, her smile gleaming like the chandelier above. Cole watched silently. In his eyes, the scene reflected the bare truth of prejudice. It needed no violence, only a look. Tyler walked past him, voice sharp. See the difference now? That's how we serve real guests. Cole smiled softly. Is that so? Of course, Tyler said proudly. We can tell who's who the moment they walk in. And me? Cole asked quietly. You? Tyler smirked. You're not the kind of person we expect to see in this lobby. Thank you, Cole replied gently. That answer's worth more than any survey. Samantha turned, startled to realize he was still there. Oh, you're still here? I thought you'd left. Cole shook his head. No, I'm learning something from you. Really? She laughed. I don't teach anyone. You don't need to, he said calmly. Just live as you do. People will learn plenty. She paused, confused, then turned back to the foreign guest, smiling brighter than before. The man glanced briefly at Cole, frowning slightly as if to ask something, but Samantha quickly shifted his attention. Your car will be ready any time, sir. He nodded politely and walked away. The lobby grew busier, its energy forced and hollow. Samantha spoke louder, laughed more often. Tyler straightened his posture, the model of perfect service. Everything looked polished, but Cole could see it clearly. This wasn't a change, only a mask worn quickly when someone with status stepped through the door. A young floor attendant passed by, bowing gently. Good afternoon, sir. Cole smiled. Good afternoon. Is your day going well? The boy nodded. Yes, sir. Just a bit tired. But I'm used to it. How long have you worked here? Over 6 months. I just cleaned the lobby, but I like it here. There are good people, too. Cole looked straight into his eyes. I believe that. And I hope you stay good, even when no one else around you is. The boy hesitated, then smiled shyly. Thank you, sir. He walked away, leaving behind Cole and a crowd of faces wearing polite disguise. Cole stood still, listening. Laughter, rolling suitcases, the faint clink of glasses. Together they formed a melody of quiet discrimination, soft but cruel. He exhaled slowly, voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes, refined coldness wounds deeper than any insult. No one heard. But inside him, a decision was forming. Silent, steady, like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. Cole stood still at the counter. The ceiling light drew sharp lines across every fold of his gray coat. He took a slow breath, voice steady and calm. Miss Samantha, I just want to ask one last time. Could you please check the system again? I believe there might be a mistake. Samantha didn't look up. I already told you, your name isn't there, and I'm very busy. Cole tilted his head slightly, his tone gentle. I understand, but if you look closely, at the top right corner, first line, you might see it. She raised her eyes, frowning. Are you trying to teach me how to do my job? Cole's voice stayed soft. No, I just believe in truth, even when it's being ignored. She gave a short laugh. Truth? Here, we work by procedure, not by a guest's feelings. Then let the procedure speak for me. She folded her arms, voice cold. If you insist, I can pretend to check again. But I'm telling you, there's nothing. She typed a few keys, indifferent. On the screen, the words appeared clearly. Carter Cole, presidential suite confirmed. She glanced at it, then quickly closed the window. Nothing, just as I said. Cole looked into her eyes. No anger, only deep sadness. He spoke slowly. How strange. One person walks in, and the whole room changes its tone. Except you. Samantha smirked. What do you expect me to do? This is a luxury hotel, not a charity house. Tyler stepped in, scoffing. Come on, old man, stop making trouble. Everyone knows someone like you can't afford a presidential suite. Cole turned toward him, meeting his eyes. Someone like me? Could you explain what that means? Tyler replied firmly. Someone wearing wrinkled clothes, worn-out shoes, driving an old SUV, holding a black card? Who would believe that? Cole nodded slowly, his gaze softening. Thank you. I just wanted to hear that said out loud. The lobby quieted for a moment. Samantha turned away, typing again. You should leave. People like you only cause problems. Cole closed his eyes briefly. People like me, he repeated, voice calm but heavy. Do you know, 35 years ago, I heard those exact words. When I was 17, washing glasses in a hotel just like this one. She didn't answer. But around the lobby, a few people had started to watch. In the far corner, a young woman looked up. Emily, the backpack traveler he'd seen helping the old lady earlier. Her eyes shone bright among the indifferent crowd. Cole continued, his tone slow and clear. I don't need praise. I just want to know, amid all these procedures and standards, is there still anyone who knows how to see a human being as human? Samantha pursed her lips. I serve guests, you're not one. Cole nodded gently. Then thank you for showing me that so clearly. He was about to turn away when a voice broke the silence. Excuse me, I think you're wrong. Everyone turned. Emily stood up, phone clenched in her hand. I saw his name on your screen, she said firmly. I was standing right here. I saw it clearly. You ignored it on purpose. Samantha's face flushed. You're interfering in something that doesn't concern you. Emily didn't step back. I just think someone should say the right thing when they see something wrong. The lobby froze. Tyler stepped forward, voice sharp. You'd better mind your own business, miss. Emily answered, voice trembling but steady. No, I'll stay. Cole looked at her and nodded gently. Gratitude flickered in his calm eyes. Thank you, he said quietly, voice deep and warm. The world still has people brave enough to stand up. Emily lowered her head, whispering, I just think silence helps cruelty grow. Cole smiled softly. That sentence is worth more than every black card in existence. He took out his phone, typed a short message, prepare, 5 minutes. When he slipped it back into his pocket. No one in that lobby knew. The countdown had already begun. A blue uniform appeared behind the counter. The security guard stepped forward, tall frame, voice trying to stay polite. Excuse me, sir. We've received a report about some disturbance at the front desk. Cole turned, calm eyes, steady. I'm just waiting for a reservation to be confirmed. Samantha quickly cut in, voice sharp. Yes, he's been standing here, claiming he has the presidential suite. But I checked and found nothing. It's suspicious. The guard nodded slightly, scanning Cole from head to toe. Sir, could I see your ID or booking confirmation? Cole was silent for a few seconds, then spoke slowly. You need verification, correct? Yes, we're only following the procedure. Procedure, Cole repeated softly. I'm very familiar with that word. But have you ever asked who created the procedure? The guard hesitated. I'm just doing my job, sir. Samantha crossed her arms, stepping back half a pace, as if she'd just proven her point. I told you from the start, something was off. Tyler smirked, muttering under his breath. Everything fits, classic impersonator behavior. Cole heard it all, but said nothing. He placed both hands on the counter, his voice low but clear. I understand. Everyone here is only doing what they think is right. The difference is, some use that excuse to hide their contempt. Samantha rolled her eyes. And who exactly are you accusing? Cole met her gaze, quiet, unshaken. I don't need to name anyone. Actions speak louder than accusations. The guard stepped in again, his tone tighter. Sir, I need your cooperation. If you can't show confirmation, I'll have to ask you to leave. Emily stepped forward half a pace, voice trembling but firm. You can't do that. I saw his name on the screen. Samantha snapped. Be quiet. You have no right to speak here. Cole lifted a hand gently toward Emily. It's all right. Sometimes, to let people understand, we must let them finish doing what they believe is right. The guard's tone softened, conflicted. I'm sorry, sir. This is just hotel security policy. Cole smiled faintly. I know you mean no harm. But do you see it? One word from her. And suddenly everything makes sense. Even humiliating another person. The guard lowered his head. No need to explain, Cole said softly. You just did what millions of others do every day. Obey without thinking. The air in the lobby thickened. Guests began whispering. A woman murmured, "He seems gentle. Why make a scene?" Her husband replied quietly, "People don't get treated like that for no reason." Cole heard every word. He looked around the grand hall, feeling as if he stood on a stage where everyone was playing their role. The doubters, the judges, the silent ones. His voice came out calm as mist. How strange. In the most luxurious places, people act the smallest. Samantha gave a cold smile. "If you want respect, sir, you should dress like someone who deserves it." Cole tilted his head. "You think respect is something you can buy with clothes?" "No," she replied, "but it helps people know what class you belong to." Emily bit her lip, eyes glistening. She raised her phone, trembling slightly, pressing record. If they don't believe, she thought, the world will. Cole didn't look her way. He simply spoke, as if addressing the lobby itself. "One day, you'll understand. Contempt is its own language. And today, I'm just listening to it." The guard stepped back slightly, uneasy. "I'm truly sorry, sir, but I have to ask you to leave now." Cole nodded. "Of course, everyone has their duty. Go ahead." He stepped aside slowly, eyes still fixed on the counter. "But remember this, when you follow a wrong order, you don't just lose your job, you lose yourself." No one replied. The lobby sank into silence. Only the faint sound of breathing and shoes brushing marble. Cole stopped, pulled out his phone, typed a short line. "Confirm arrival. Proceed now." He slipped it back into his pocket, exhaled softly. Like wind passing through glass. No one in that room knew. That was when a man like him said proceed. The world around him was about to change color. Outside, a low engine hum began to rise through the still air. No one noticed at first, until the sound grew clearer, steady, powerful, and unmistakably refined. A silver Rolls-Royce stopped before the glass doors. Valet Tyler looked up, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. "Must be a real VIP this time," he muttered, straightening his tie, standing taller. Samantha followed his gaze, surprise glinting in her eyes. "Prepare a lemon water," she whispered. "It might be the real presidential guest." Cole remained still, hands in his coat pockets, eyes not on the door, but on the reflection of the lobby across the marble floor. Everything around him seemed to slow, the soft hum of air vents, the click of heels, the faint rhythm of keys, all fading into silence. The car door opened. Victor stepped out first, tall, dark coat, ID badge glinting. Behind him came Janet, tablet in hand, and Louise, her gaze sharp as a blade. They moved quickly, precisely. No glances, no greetings, heading straight for the entrance. Tyler rushed forward. "Good afternoon, sir. Do you have a reservation?" Victor didn't stop. "We do, and it started 4 minutes ago." His voice carried just enough to fill the lobby. Samantha straightened, brushing her hair, eyes wide. Victor looked directly at Cole, his tone filled with respect. "Everything all right, sir?" The room froze. Samantha turned, then back again, her smile stiff and cracking. "Sir, what did you just call him?" Victor stopped beside Cole, speaking loud enough for all to hear. "He's the chairman of Carter Tech." The words hit the marble floor like a dropped weight. Tyler went pale. Samantha's eyes widened, lips trembling. The guard lowered his hands and stepped back. Janet placed her tablet on the counter. "I think this is where you check your guest list again." The screen lit up, first line bright and clear. "Carter, Cole, presidential suite confirmed." The receptionist stammered. I didn't know. I wasn't informed." Cole looked at her, eyes calm. "No one needs to inform you. You only needed to look." Victor turned toward the guard. "What's your name?" David, sir." "David, you were doing your job. I understand. But doing your job should never mean forgetting respect." David lowered his head, speechless. Janet leaned closer to Samantha, her tone soft but cutting. In the last 6 minutes, you just cost this hotel $2.8 billion. Samantha stepped back, hands shaking. I didn't mean to. Cole interrupted gently. I know, but that phrase, I didn't mean to. That's exactly why things like this never stop happening. Outside, the Rolls-Royce engine still purred softly. People on the sidewalk began to stop, peering through the glass. Inside, every gaze was fixed on him. Emily stood in the far corner, phone in hand. She whispered to herself, "This is the moment the world needs to see." Her thumb pressed record. Cole turned to Victor, voice deep and steady. "Cancel all afternoon meetings." "Yes, sir." "Ah. Message the communications team. Suspend all partnerships with this hotel chain." "Understood." Janet returned to the desk, picked up the key card, and set it down before Samantha. "This is your copy of the confirmation. You may keep it as a reminder." Samantha's hands trembled. She couldn't bring herself to touch it. Cole turned toward the silent crowd. "I'm not angry, just disappointed. Everyone here just witnessed a lesson about how quickly a smile can disappear when someone thinks you're not worth it." He began to walk toward the door. Victor, Janet, and Louise followed. Each step echoed across the marble, sharp, deliberate, final. No one spoke. No one dared to meet his eyes. At the threshold, Cole paused, looked back once more at the glittering, frozen lobby. "Thank you for reminding me. That real respect doesn't live at the front desk. It lives in the heart." He stepped through the glass doors. The wind swept in behind him, and for the first time, the grand lobby truly felt cold. The glass door closed behind Cole, yet the air inside the lobby stayed frozen. Samantha stood motionless, her trembling hands resting on the keyboard, eyes lowered. David, the guard, bowed his head, sweat running down his neck. Tyler remained still, lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. Then the elevator doors opened. Hurried footsteps echoed across the marble. Graham, the hotel manager, appeared, suit creased, breath unsteady. He scanned the room, then saw the man walking toward the exit. "Mr. Cole," his voice cracked. "Please, wait. There must be some misunderstanding." Cole turned, eyes calm as still water. "Misunderstanding? And what exactly do you plan to re-understand?" Graham swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "If I had known you were coming in person, things would have been different." "That's the problem," Cole said softly. "If you have to know who I am before treating me with decency, then this hotel has never understood service." Graham fell silent. Janet opened her tablet, showing him a brief report. "These are the audio logs and lobby camera records from the last 15 minutes. They've already been backed up and sent to Carter Tech's legal department." Graham froze. "There's no need to escalate this." Victor's voice cut in, cold and steady. "Sir, it escalated long before we walked in." Samantha's breathing quickened. I didn't mean to offend him. I was just following the procedure." Cole looked at her quietly. "I know. But you're mistaken about one thing. Procedure exists to protect people, not to justify contempt." He stepped closer, voice deepening. "Do you know how many people laughed at me during the 6 minutes I stood at that counter?" Samantha shook her head faintly. 9, Cole said. "And only one person stood up for me. A girl who doesn't work here doesn't get paid, had no reason at all to interfere. Except that she understood silence in the face of injustice is also a choice." Emily stood in the corner, still holding her phone. Her eyes met his, and in that brief moment, no words were needed, only acknowledgement. Cole turned to the manager. "Do you know what's worse than being wrong, Graham?" Graham said nothing. "It's when people are wrong and still believe they're right." The words rippled through the hall. Heads lowered. The only sound was the pulse of breath in the silence. Janet took a call, her voice low. "Mr. Cole, the media team just confirmed. A video of the entire incident is spreading online." Cole asked quietly, Who posted it? The young woman, Emily. It already has hundreds of thousands of views. No edits, no headlines, just truth. Cole glanced around the room. The world moves fast now. A few minutes are enough to reveal what you've been hiding for years. Graham stepped forward, voice breaking. Mr. Cole, can we have a chance to make things right? Cole was silent for a moment. You don't owe me an apology. Save it for the people who will watch that video, because they're the ones who've been treated like I was today. Samantha's voice trembled. I didn't know. I just thought you were... Were what? Cole asked softly. Someone unimportant. Cole nodded once. And that is the biggest mistake. He turned to Victor. Finalize the termination. From now on, all Carter Tech lodging and conferences will move to new partners. Victor answered, Understood. Graham rushed forward, desperate. Mr. Cole, please, let me explain. Cole stopped him gently. No need. Explanations always arrive after consequences. And consequences have already begun. He looked around the lobby one last time. You all believe you're working in a 5-star hotel. But without respect, none of this is worth a dime. Cole turned away, his steps slow but resolute. The doors opened. Daylight spilled in like fresh wind. Emily lifted her phone, still recording. She said nothing, just held the frame on his fading silhouette. Cole's voice came one last time, calm, resonant, final. I don't need an apology. I need culture. He stepped outside. The revolving door closed behind him. And inside, the lobby sank into a silence heavier than any excuse. Outside, the afternoon light slanted across the glass facade. Cole walked slowly through the stunned stairs, saying nothing. Behind him, Emily still held her phone upright. The screen glowed, the red word live pulsing in the corner. Who is he? Someone whispered. Cole Carter, the founder of Carter Tech. The name spread like a spark. Comments began to flood the live feed. What's happening? Someone just got humiliated in that hotel. That's billionaire Cole Carter. They kicked him out because they thought he was a fraud. Emily said nothing. She kept the frame steady on the gray coat, walking away. The image was quiet, but beneath it, thousands began to pour in. The viewer count leapt upward. 10,000, 80,000, 200,000, 500,000 in under 10 minutes. A comment appeared. I can't believe this. How could they treat him like that? Another followed. Believe it. I've been through the same thing, just because I didn't look rich enough. Cole stopped beside the Rolls-Royce. He turned, looking back at the lobby, his eyes calm as a lake before a storm. No anger, only a gentle kind of disappointment that everyone could feel. Emily whispered, her voice trembling. They're watching. Millions of them are watching. Cole spoke softly, not looking at the camera. Then let them see what truly has value. He stepped into the car, the door closing with a quiet click. The Rolls-Royce pulled away, gliding through a crowd now raising their phones to record. Inside the lobby, chaos bloomed. Samantha covered her face, eyes blank. Tyler tried calling the manager, but no one answered. Graham stared at his phone, the live broadcast filling the screen. Millions of views, hearts and angry faces flashing side by side. Emily's voice echoed through the stream. They were wrong. They thought he was just an ordinary man. But he's the one signing a $2.8 billion deal with this hotel. And now, he's gone. The internet erupted. News channels replayed the video within minutes. A presenter read the breaking headline, Tech billionaire Cole Carter walks out of the Ellington after being publicly humiliated by staff. A $2.8 billion partnership canceled on the spot. Hashtags spread like wildfire. Number respect by default. Number Carter Tech. Number hotel humiliation. Number dignity matters. Every minute, the numbers climbed higher. Forums exploded with debate. Clips repeated his words again and again. Procedure cannot cover contempt. And the final line, I don't need an apology, I need culture. That 12-second excerpt became the soundtrack for thousands of reaction videos. One hotel worker spoke into his own clip. "This isn't about a billionaire. It's about how we judge people before we know who they are." Within 2 hours, every major outlet had the same photo. Cole walks out through the glass doors, the golden Ellington logo behind him. The headline read, "Respect costs $2.8 billion." Meanwhile, the hotel's communications office was under siege with calls and emails. Graham sat in the conference room with the PR director and the legal team. On the big screen, a graph spiked upward, brand mentions up 12-fold, 92% negative. The spokeswoman's voice shook. "We're trending worldwide. Asia, Europe, the US. Everyone's talking about it. Twitter is flooded with Emily's video." Graham gripped the chair arm. "How many views?" 3.2 million, and rising every minute." No one spoke. The room sank into the heavy silence of collapse. Outside, the video still rolled. Cole Carter sat in the car, expression calm, eyes distant. In the comments, one line rose to the top. He didn't need to raise his voice. His silence was enough to make the world listen. That comment was pinned. It gathered over 1 million hearts. And by the end of that afternoon, Cole's silence had become the loudest voice on the internet. Inside the 14th floor conference room of the Ellington, the curtains were drawn shut. The glow from the projector washed over pale faces. No laughter now, no clicking heels, only the soft sounds of mouse clicks and phones vibrating non-stop. Graham stood at the head of the table, both hands braced on the polished wood. "I want the real numbers," he said, his voice hoarse. The communications director opened her laptop. "Total views just past 5 million. Hashtag number respect by default is number 3 worldwide." Another executive added quietly, "Over 28,000 comments mention the hotel, nearly all negative." A man at the far end spoke in a whisper. "Parent company stock down 2%. Silence filled the room. Graham closed his eyes. One look, one word, one wrong smile, and everything collapses. "Graham," the hotel's attorney placed a folder on the table. "I've reviewed all the security footage. There's no denying it. In fact, it's worse than the girls' live stream." Graham frowned. "Worse how?" "There's laughter from other guests, a clear line of, 'Someone like you,' and the staff refused service even while Mr. Carter's name was visible on screen. No one breathed." The PR director covered her face. "We've lost everything in a matter of hours. I suggest issuing a public apology immediately." "Apologize to whom?" Graham asked coldly. "Carter Tech, or the entire world?" A minute passed. Only the hum of the air conditioning answered. "Both," she said softly. Graham turned toward HR. "Where's Samantha?" "In the staff room. She hasn't spoken, just sitting there." "Bring her up." Minutes later, the door opened. Samantha stepped in, exhausted, eyes swollen from tears. She stood still, hands clasped in front of her. Graham's voice was slow. "Do you have anything to say?" Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to. I just thought he wasn't important." "And that thought," Graham said quietly, "is exactly why we've become a global lesson in arrogance." No one defended her. No one dared to meet her eyes. Samantha tried to hold back her tears. "I'll resign. I know there's no fixing this." Graham shook his head. "Not just you. Our training system, our onboarding, our entire way of seeing people, all of it must change." He looked around the room. "And if anyone still thinks this was a personal mistake, look at the screen." He pressed a button. The image appeared. Cole, standing at the front desk, pale light falling across his gray coat. Samantha's recorded voice echoed through the speakers. "We're busy. Please wait for the actual guests." Every head lowered. Graham spoke quietly. No comments. "I just want everyone to remember that sound every time you face a customer." He turned to the attorney. "Legal consequences?" "Carter Tech is within its full rights to terminate immediately. They could also file for reputational damages, estimated loss, about $2.8 billion. A collective breath filled the room. The PR director asked softly, If we issue a public apology, do you think they'll forgive us? Graham met her eyes. Forgiveness isn't what they want. They want proof that we've learned the lesson. He looked down at the table, voice slower now. I've been in this business 30 years. I've never seen a brand lose credibility this fast. 1 hour, just 1 hour, and decades of work vanished. Then he added quietly, respect isn't a skill, it's a reflex. And here, we forgot that reflex. Samantha broke down crying. No one comforted her. The lawyer closed the folder. Mr. Carter has sent official notice terminating the contract. At the same time, his communications team posted, respect isn't a reward, it's the default. The 6 words glowed on the screen. Simple, but every heart in the room felt the sting. Graham lowered his hands from the table. When a man has to use power to teach us dignity, it means we lost that dignity long ago. No one replied. Rain began tapping softly against the window glass. Outside, the golden Ellington sign still glowed. But inside, the light had gone out in every soul sitting there. The room sank into silence. The silence of an empire realizing it was no longer respected. At Carter Tech headquarters, the 49th floor conference room glowed softly under warm amber light. No cameras, no reporters, no noise, only familiar faces gathered around the long walnut table. Cole sat at the head, silent, fingers tapping lightly on the wood as if keeping time with his thoughts. In front of him lay 2 folders, one labeled The Ellington, the other Human Stays. Janet began, her voice steady and clear. The Ellington has sent an official apology. They agree to full compensation and propose a global employee retraining program. Victor glanced at Cole. And Human Stays sent only a short letter. No apology, just 1 sentence. Every guest is a guest of honor. Cole nodded gently. Sometimes 1 short sentence says everything about culture. The room fell still. Everyone understood this meeting wasn't just about choosing a partner. It was about the direction of the entire company. Janet turned a page. Financially, the Ellington remains the stronger option. Their network spans the world. Human Stays has only 12 properties. Victor added quietly. But their internal trust index is rising fast. Every staff member is rated 4.9 for ethical service. Cole smiled faintly. True value isn't measured by size. It's revealed in how people treat others when no one's watching. He uncapped his pen and signed the first page of the Human Stays folder. No one looked surprised. No one objected. Victor asked softly, "You're certain, sir?" Cole replied, calm and clear. "I don't buy reputation with money. I buy trust with principles." Janet looked up. "And the Ellington?" Cole met her eyes. "We end all partnerships. No re-entry clause. No follow-up meetings. No recovery campaigns. When respect is treated as optional, there's nothing left to build on." Heads nodded around the table. No lengthy memo, no debate. The decision stood, firm as the moment he'd walked out of that hotel lobby. Cole rose and walked slowly along the table. "We've built technology that can save lives. But if we don't protect human dignity, every invention becomes hollow." He paused by the window, looking out over the city lights. "I don't need a brand that follows for prestige. I need partners who believe that respect isn't a reward, it's the starting point." Victor smiled faintly. "You know, that line has become a global slogan online." Cole's gaze softened. "If 1 sentence makes people think before they judge, that's enough." Janet closed the Ellington folder. "How should we brief the press?" Cole answered quietly. "Don't mention the past. Just speak what we believe. Carter Tech is proud to partner with Human Stays, where every guest is a guest of honor. Short and true." Victor took notes. "No image campaign?" Cole shook his head. "No need. The action speaks louder." The room settled into silence again. Only the sound of the final pen stroke echoed softly. Cole looked down at the signature he'd just written, as if sealing a promise to the world. Sometimes The strongest statement you can make is staying silent toward what doesn't deserve an answer. He closed the folder and stood. Prepare the new contract with Human Stays, and send a thank you letter to Emily Carter, the girl who refused to look away. Everyone fell quiet. Janet asked gently, "What will you say in the letter?" Cole's voice was calm, slow, and certain. "Thank her for having the courage to see clearly. The world doesn't change because of the powerful. It changes because ordinary people know when not to stay silent." No one added a word. Cole stepped out. The door closed softly behind him, leaving the quiet room a sense of certainty that needed no applause. One chapter had closed, and another had just been written, in two simple words: respect first. 3 days later, the story moved like wind that no one could contain. No marketing, no campaign. Just a 40-second video showing a man in a gray coat leaving a hotel in silence. Across social media, headlines appeared at once. Billionaire Cole Carter cancels a $2.8 billion deal to defend human value. Respect is worth more than profit. Culture can't be bought with money. Over 10 million views in 24 hours. News channels trimmed the clip into short segments. One anchor said softly, "There were no shouts, no threats, only silence." And that silence made the whole world listen. In New York, hospitality students opened their ethics discussion with one question: if you were Samantha, what would you have done differently? In Tokyo, a small hotel chain printed Cole's words on their training boards. Respect isn't a reward, it's the default. In Paris, a newspaper ran a photo of him touching the Rolls-Royce window. The caption read, "La dignité n'a pas de prix." Dignity has no price. But perhaps the most touching moments came from smaller places. A young receptionist in Manila pinned Cole's photo behind her desk, and beneath it was written by hand, "I apologize to every guest, not because someone was wrong, but because we learned the meaning of respect." At the same time, the Carter Tech office in London received hundreds of emails from around the world. A doctor from Mumbai wrote, "I was once turned away from a conference for wearing the wrong brand. Today, after watching your video, I feel seen." A driver from Johannesburg messaged, "I don't own a black card, but I know that feeling. Thank you for not staying silent." Cole read each line, replied to none, and saved them all in a folder named Voices of Dignity. He knew each message was a small fragment of one shared truth: the longing to be seen for character, not appearance. In Los Angeles, a morning talk show invited Emily to speak. She sat before the camera, soft light on her face, voice trembling but firm. "I didn't know who he was," she said. "I just saw something wrong, and I thought, if I don't record, who will believe it?" The host asked, "Do you regret it?" Emily shook her head. "No, because sometimes it only takes one ordinary person doing the right thing to change how the world sees." That quote spread everywhere. The hashtag number #BeTheWitness rose faster than anyone predicted. Cole himself never appeared in the media again. No speeches, no interviews. Only one internal letter was sent to every employee. It read, "We can't control how others see us, but we can choose how we treat them. Kindness doesn't make us weak, it makes us strong. Because respect isn't a reward, it's a duty between human beings." The letter leaked online and soon became a guidepost for thousands of companies. A week later, Human Stays hung a small sign at their headquarters entrance. "We don't judge. We welcome." The morning light reflected on the glass, simple but powerful. Small stories began to ripple across the world. A taxi driver in Chicago returned a lost wallet without waiting for a reward. A waiter in Rome packed leftover food for a homeless man with care. A 10-year-old girl in Texas wrote on her classroom board, "Kindness first, always." No one told them to do it. They just did because they had seen that video. The story of Cole Carter was no longer about power. It had become a story about the worth of every glance, every word, every quiet act. And as night fell over the cities, Millions of screens still glowed. Not for drama, not for noise, but because people were choosing to believe in one simple truth. That respect doesn't begin when someone becomes successful. It begins the moment we truly see each other. Monday morning, sunlight spilled through the tall glass walls of Carter Tech. Every employee arrived earlier than usual. No one was summoned, but everyone knew. Today, Cole Carter would send a letter. The internal network lit up at once. On every screen, a message appeared. Message from the founder. No video. No music. Just white text on a black background. Good morning, everyone. This past week, the world didn't see us through technology. They saw through how we treat people. The entire office fell silent. Each person read slowly, as if hearing his voice in their minds. Someone asked why I walked away from a $2.8 billion deal over a single look. I didn't answer, because that question needs no answer. We didn't build Carter Tech to become the biggest company. We built it to become the right one. On the 26th floor, a young engineer's hand trembled. On the 5th, a janitor paused his mop and looked up at the open screen. In the cafeteria, no one spoke. Only the faint hum of background music filled the air. Over the last few days, I've read hundreds of messages from around the world. No one mentioned contracts or money. They said one thing: thank you for not staying silent. It reminded me, our purpose was never to build machines. We build tools that help people see one another more clearly. Silence spread across every floor. No one scrolled. No one hurried. And for those who've ever been dismissed, judged by clothes or accent, know this: you deserve respect, not because you're perfect, but because you're human. We can't control how others treat us, but we can always choose how we treat them. In a corner office, Victor nodded quietly. Janet closed her eyes, exhaling slowly and deeply. And Cole sat alone in his office, looking out at the city beyond. The same letter glowed on his screen, but his gaze lingered on the final line still unfinished. He typed slowly. Kindness isn't weakness. Respect isn't earned. It's owed by default. That is the spirit of Carter Tech. Not only when people are watching, but especially when they're not. He reread each line, then pressed send. A soft ping echoed through the entire building, like one shared heartbeat. In the engineering wing, a young man whispered, "He doesn't need slogans, he just acts." His colleague smiled. That's why people believe him. On the top floor, Cole rose and walked to the window. Sunlight touched his face, gentle, certain. Below, traffic flowed like living veins through the city. He placed his hand on the cool glass, the same gesture he'd made outside that hotel. In his mind, his father's voice returned, distant but clear. You don't need to teach people kindness, son. Just live it long enough, and they'll see. Cole smiled faintly. Outside, the sky was bright and clean. He turned back, picked up a small envelope from his desk, addressed it to Emily. Thank you for not turning away. The world needs more people like you. No signature. Only a small embossed C in the corner. In the main lobby, employees gathered before the digital board, displaying the final line of his message. Respect isn't a performance. It's who we are. Beneath it, hundreds of digital hearts appeared, and handwritten notes taped to the screen read, "We stand with that." The atmosphere was still, but warm. Everyone understood they were part of something larger than work itself. As the monitors dimmed, light from the windows reflected across their faces. A quiet voice rose from somewhere in the crowd. This isn't just his story. It's ours. And it was true. In that moment, Carter Tech was no longer just a company. It was a living reminder that respect doesn't begin with title or power. It begins with a choice. A choice to see the person before the position. To stay silent when needed, and to speak when it matters. To be kind, even when no one's watching. Because sometimes, changing the world begins with one respectful look, and one human word, spoken with dignity. Late afternoon, the city shimmered in honey-gold light. The glass tower of Carter Tech caught the last rays of the sun. On the top floor, Cole Carter sat quietly by the open window. The wind moved softly through the trees below, carrying the sound of a day folding shut. On his desk lay the printed letter he'd sent to the whole company, beside a cup of cold tea. Beneath it rested an old business card. Black leather, silver-embossed letters. Cole Carter, founder. He looked at it for a long time, as if seeing his 17-year-old self again. The boy stopped outside a banquet hall door because he didn't have a face for the VIP table. Now there was no anger left, only gratitude, because without that wound, he might never have understood the weight of respect. His phone lit up. A message from Emily. "Thank you for the note. I never thought one video could change so many people." Cole typed back slowly. "It wasn't the video. It was the act. And you chose the right one." He set the phone down, a quiet smile forming. Outside, the city moved as always, hurried steps, passing glances, quick judgments. But somewhere amid it all, he believed more people were learning to pause for a heartbeat before they judged. In cafes, people still spoke of the Ellington incident, but their tone had changed. No longer the billionaire who was insulted, but the man who reminded the world of a forgotten courtesy. In a high school classroom, a boy raised his hand. "If it were me, I wouldn't dare to speak up," he said, "but I think I wouldn't laugh." The teacher nodded. And sometimes, not laughing is already changing the world a little. The phrase spread like a small flame. In many cities, people began calling it the Carter effect. One quiet act of respect, traveling farther than power ever could. As for Cole, he still went to work every morning. No escorts, no assistants leading the way. The same gray coat, the same self-poured coffee. He greeted every employee by name. To him, what mattered most wasn't that people remembered his name, but they felt respected when they heard theirs. Evening descended. The last light spilled across the window pane. He whispered, as if to his father, "I kept the promise, Dad." Then he folded the old business card, placed it in the drawer, and walked out. The door closed softly. His footsteps blended with the rhythm of the city below. No music, no applause, only a calm that seemed to spread everywhere. The narrator's voice slowed, gentle as wind. "Sometimes we don't need power to change the world, just the courage to treat others as fully human. And when enough people choose respect, the world begins to heal itself." If you're still listening, pause for a moment. Remember a time someone judged you by appearance, and a time you may have done the same. Both leave scars, but only one side can choose to heal. You can't control how others look at you, but you can choose how you look at them. Because often, respect doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be practiced, every single day. If this story touched you, leave a comment with 2 words, respect first. And if you believe the world can still grow kinder through small acts, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Remember, respect isn't a privilege. It's the starting point of every decent connection. And as Cole Carter once said, respect isn't earned, it's owed by default. Be the one who begins that, starting right now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. In life, there will always be those who hold power, fame, and wealth. But the world doesn't need more powerful people. The world needs more people who know how to respect. Every look, every word, every small act. It can teach a child how to treat the world around them. If you're a parent, teach your children that respect is not a reward, it's a given. If you're a leader, remember that power only has meaning when it's used to lift others up. And if you're simply an ordinary person in this busy world, your kindness alone is still enough to make it shine a little brighter. We tell stories like this not to judge, but to remind the world that character remains the foundation of every success. If you believe that too, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next journey. Because each week brings another story about kindness, courage, and human dignity. Thank you for listening. And if you meet someone today, start with a respectful look. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the world.